Yeah, I mean, I think that this film really doesn't dwell in the realm of the horror of what's happened to these women. It really takes on what a way forward might look like and how they're building together as a community and sitting with each other's experiences and trying to build a new world. And so to me, it felt like, besides the point to see the details of the horror that they've experienced, it's certainly part of the film in terms of what's discussed, but it didn't feel relevant or important to actually show the attacks.
Yeah, definitely. And why do you think now is kind of the time to tell this story, to bring it to the screen? I think, it's the kind of thing that's always pertinent, but it feels kind of more so in the climate that we live in at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the book by Miriam Toews, when I read it, felt very timeless and really essential, sadly, at any moment in history. I think there has been a lot of conversation over the last few years, more so about gender-based violence, and those have been really important conversations. And a lot of that has been about identifying harm. And I think what I was so excited about was the opportunity to tell this story, which was about a way forward and about what we want to build, not just what we want to destroy.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. And Ben, obviously August is the only man that we meet in the film, and he has this really important role of kind of record keeper for this conversation. I just wondered, what you kind of enjoyed or found interesting or challenging about playing him, and what you thought was important about this role that he plays as the kind of minute taker and record keeper.
It was an interesting exercise or something in kind of like, in the best sense of something not being about me. It's not about him. He's just there to listen and to, he understands how complex it is for him simply to even be in that room. So it's not about him. It's a sort of self-effacing quality that he has to have. And just to do something really simple that's also really difficult, which is just to listen and to record. So that was what was interesting and difficult about the experience.
Yeah, definitely, thank you. And how did you kind of approach playing him? I don't know, like, what kind of research you did, whether you were able to speak to people who've lived in that kind of community, or whether, like, how did you kind of get into him and learn about him?
I read the book, Miriam's book, and I'd read other books by Miriam, which I love. So that was very helpful. Actually, some other books that she's written about her father were really interesting and useful to me. I did do some research. We watched some documentaries about men like communities, and Keita, actually, who was our amazing costume designer, was an amazing fount of knowledge about. Yeah. So there was lots of knowledge around, but there was a sense that we were also doing something that transcended, to some degree, the specifics of this community. So, I don't know. We did our research, and then we went with ourselves also. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Thank you. And the final one is just for both of you. Obviously, we've got a really fantastic cast in this film, and I think these performances from all of the leading women are just incredible. And how was it for you both, obviously working with these people in kind of different ways, and the likes of Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley are just incredible. So how was it for you both?
I mean, it was amazing. It was just an amazing group of actors, not just because they're brilliant, but because they were so wonderful with each other and created such a sense of community and fun and collaboration. And I mean, it was really idyllic in a way that, you often hear people talk about, but we really mean it.
And just everyone from Kate and Liv to Sheila and Judith, who, the sort of range of experiences and personalities. Everyone's very different.
Yeah.
To see everybody working together and delighting in each other's company and in each other's work was really very beautiful. Yeah.
General terror is how I approach most of my scripts.
Denial.
How am I going to do this? I have no idea, and then you just do it. And I don't know. I loved all the women in this, but I really immediately felt kind of drawn to Marieke, and in a way I guess I wanted to understand that woman and not kind of judge that woman, and there is so much internalized pain from decades of an inherited kind of violence and education, and how you go about kind of unlearning all the things that you've learned about yourself, so that you can kind of allow or dream about another version of yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, I felt like all the women are obviously very distinct, but it's sort of weird because it's like an allegory of like a bigger conversation. Like they are all individuals, but it's all part of one conversation that they're all having, and they all have a stance in it, but they're all invested in the conversation and where it's going. And so with Salome, I felt like I completely, from her perspective, I was totally on board with her as a person and her approach to life and how she expressed herself. I really admired and all those things. But it's like Jessie said, like I really identified with there was not a single woman in that room who I didn't have some sort of weird affinity with, in the sense that I understood all those women. I appreciated them, and I knew them in my life. Like I'd seen them, and I had conversations with them and knew them. So I felt very attached to every single character, and I think that's what you feel like. I hope people feel like when they watch it, is that you do become very attached to them as a group and who they are, and all their different, idiosyncrasies and characters. Yeah, it's great having a book. Do you feel that? Like I always feel having a book is really useful.
Yeah, whenever you go off piste, you kind of can always go back to the book.
Yeah, but I think we slightly, the book was obviously written by Miriam Taves, who was a Mennonite herself. And so I felt like it was implicit in the book that it was authentic.
Am I misremembering this? But didn't they make like a website? Did they make a like communal kind of research thing where there was like pictures and
I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember being able to get it. Was there a book? Like a actual...
Yeah, I can't remember anyway.
We obviously did a lot of research.
We grew our leg hair.
Really,
and I had fake boobs.
There you go. It begins and ends in those two places. Yeah. There you go.
How you embody them. No, that's great, thank you. And you've kind of touched this already, but did you both feel that you related to these women? I think even though their lives are so vastly different from kind of our day-to-day lives, I think, like you say, you can see ourselves in all of them in some way. So how did you kind of relate to your characters and then, the other women that are in the film?
I don't think they're that different from our lives. They probably have a more concentrated relationship to faith, or a particular kind of relationship to God. But, we all live with like a kind of some sort of faith in whatever that form takes in our lives. And yeah, I related a lot to them. They didn't feel foreign. Like what felt foreign was that this story was actually being told. And what was kind of so exciting about it was actually being able to talk these things out loud for the first time, when actually we've had them all privately in our minds and even communally. Like you never have an opportunity to have a conversation like this with a group of women, and to actually take agency in deciding our faiths and our faith and what actually we hope for in our lives together, outside of the kind of helm of being in a kind of patriarchal society. So yeah, that was what was a foreign, exciting prospect. But actually the women, I know all of those women, and I know I could touch everything that each woman says in that room. I've definitely thought at certain points in my life.
But I feel like that's the thing, is I feel like it's interesting, the concept that this isn't more real than the world we live in. I think that a lot of people who move through the world, not just women, but this is their reality. And I think the more we address that, the less we keep that some sort of fringe aspect of society, the more healthy society hopefully will be. Because I think that the most common experiences and the things that people go through in their lives are what these women are experiencing. It's been put out there and they're talking about it.